very immersive. So I really felt that. I really felt scared. I could really imagine exactly what he was telling me to imagine. It's a mindfuck kind of book, but it's pretty fucking awesome. And I don't know how else to describe it but that. Hi everyone, this is Paul Loves to Read, and in this channel, as you know, it's all about spreading the love and joy for literature, and I hope our little channel helps you find the right book for you. And today we're going to talk about this extremely unique, one-of-a-kind book. It's called House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. It was published way back in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. And I gotta tell you, this is one hell of an experience of a book. So I'm super excited to share this with you today. This book is a lot of things. It's a lot of things. It's just not one genre. It is, at the surface level, it's like a horror story. It's it's one of those ghost stories na parang haunted house type thing. There's a first-person perspective, and actually there are multiple perspectives and so on. But at the core of it, as you go through the story more and more, you discover that it's not just about a horror story. It's not just about a haunted house. It's really actually about relationships and a love story. It's a lot. It's not your normal narrative. It's not your normal storytelling type na once upon a time, there's a ganyan, 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 and so on. It's definitely not like that. The format is completely different. And yeah, and it's, like I said, it's one of a kind. It's completely different. So it's about this house in, like a normal, ordinary house in a normal, ordinary village. But the thing about this house is it's a special kind of house. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary house, but when you go inside, the house is bigger in the inside than when you look at it from the outside. That in itself sounds like superficial and shallow, diba? But the storytelling is brilliant because it is in a documentary format. It is unique because it feels like you are watching a documentary film but in book form. Very interesting format. Is the first time that I have encountered this type of format, this type of book writing. And even beyond that, right? And I know I keep coming back to the docu-film style. But even beyond that, if you would see the book, and I'm sure we're going to show this, it's written differently. So I don't know if you could see, for example, at this page, it is written in such a way that is that mirrors, at least the book, the author tries to mirror how the story feels in book form, right? So for example, in these pages, you would see a lot of almost blank pages. You would see a lot of spaces here. And that's because this is the part of the story wherein our protagonist is finally stuck in that place and he couldn't find his way out. So the authors decided to write it this way. So one page is one page is one word. And you would flip through it. And as you read it, and as you flip through the pages, you feel that dread with our protagonist. You feel it with him because the page tells you, that just looking at it, the format gives you that feeling of discomfort, that feeling of being lost and alone, and there's just so much space. So that's one of the unique things about this book. Not only is it unique in the docu perspective for perspectives for narrators. Not only is he doing that in the book, but also in the literal layout and even the font size, font color. The authors were very careful to incorporate that in the storytelling. Ito, meron pa dito, you also have, there will be moments in the book, in the story, wherein you have to literally flip the book a few ways so you could read the text. And again, because that reflects what's happening to our protagonist in the book. So the author is really trying to bring you into that experience. So there is no other book out there that I have encountered na ganyan. So it's unique and it's very interesting. This book is not new. This has been around since 2001. I have seen this book every year, almost every year in the bookstore. I have been curious about this book for several years now. I have wanted to read it for a few years now. I never really gotten around to it because admittedly I was intimidated din when I first encountered this book because it's different. I don't know what's it about. It's strange. But this year I was I was looking through yung mga best top horror books to read, parang ganyan. And this came out in the list. And then I was like, okay, so is it a horror book? Is it ganyan? I like reading horror once in a while. So I decided to finally pick it up. So I gave it a chance. And I'm so glad I did. I have to admit, I feel like I'm late in the game. I feel like I wish I have read this back in 2001 or 2002. Why? Because the book's timeline, the setting is set at a time when there was still no internet. Okay, so it was pre-internet time, and again that element is key in the storytelling. That everything happened pre-internet time, where research and stories get spread around differently. Nowadays, kasi syempre, if you want to find out about something, you just go online, then you research it. It's kind of easy to find out. But back then, pre-internet, you have to literally go to places and meet people and talk to people. So the book kind of reflects that. So I feel like I'm a little late in the game. I imagine that my experience of the book would have been so much different if I read it before. Siguro mga, ganyan nga, mga 2002, 2003, wherein social media is not yet normal, diba? I mean, meron na, pero it's not as, as normal as now. So I could imagine why, and I could understand why this book gained a cult following as well, because it's like mind-blowing. There are a lot of memorable parts. This is a very smart book, and this is a very challenging book. I have to say, one of the most challenging books I have read. Definitely not for everybody. One of the memorable parts of the book was sa umpisa pa lang towards the start, at the beginning, wherein it gets really scary because the third narrator, the one who is speaking directly to you, the reader, breaks the fourth wall, right? He breaks the fourth wall, and he talks directly to you, and he tells you that he would address you. He said in one part, he said that kasi he was trying to describe his feeling when he had this nightmare of a dream. It was terrifying. And then he's trying to describe it for you so you could imagine it. And then he would address you at one point and say that, okay, reader, yes, I'm talking to you. Imagine for a second you are sitting in your room right now. You're holding the book in your hand right now. And you imagine you are in your room. So that one was, for me, very unique and very immersive. So I really felt that. I really felt scared. I could really imagine exactly what he was telling me to imagine. And it was tough for me to get through those, that page. But that was memorable. That was fun. It will surprise you when you get to that part. Even right now, I'm telling you this and you decide to read it, I'm 110% sure it will still get you when you get to that point. This book has many layers. It is a challenging book. It's a challenging story. It's pretty hard to follow, honestly. It's not, like I said, it's not your normal narrative. But what I love about this book is that it's very immersive. It's one of those very unique books wherein you could just get really sucked in, and really almost believe about this house, right? You could almost, you would almost want to you would almost want this to be a true story. It's not. It's fiction. So, but the way it's written, it almost feels like it's real. It almost feels like these people are real. And it has so many layers, in the attempt to explain the house. In the attempt to explain the house, they looked into different different theories about the house. So, they would touch on about architecture, about religion, about mythology, about aliens, about different wide subject matters, because nga in the attempt to explain the house, right? And so I'm gonna stop right there. So it's vast, okay? It's vast. It is wide. It is big. It's scary at some points. It is heartbreaking at some point. And then it's also very human. Meron siyang mga universal themes of being human, like the need to know, the need to explore, love, for example, doing everything for love, or what are you willing to do for love, and what are you willing to sacrifice for love, and then in all that, those themes. It is also very nerdy and extremely nerdy and geeky. It has a lot of footnotes, as in OA. Sobrang daming footnotes. It's not easy to read, okay? It's hard to read. Most of the footnotes, yeah, maybe it makes sense, but for me, when I read it, I skipped on some of them because it doesn't matter. You just really need to pick, I guess, which ones make sense and doesn't, and which ones make sense to you, and so on. And then I would say this is a next level type of reading. Not for everybody, but if you feel like you're ready for it, then you could give it a try. I feel like folks who are interested in graphic novels, scary stories, mystical mysteries, and so on, maybe this is for you. But again, it's a challenging read, but it's worth it. I don't know if that helped so much because I know I didn't say anything much about the plot or whatever, but it is a great book. It's a mindfuck kind of book, but it's pretty fucking awesome, and I don't know how else to describe it but that. It's very geeky, very nerdy, very next level, very challenging, but again, it is worth all that. So yeah, it lives up to the hype. Thank you.